Hey, welcome back to Mocktails with Marina. I'm your host, Marina, and today we'll be exploring the zero-proof lifestyle from both a personal perspective and a professional perspective. So, where do we even start? Let's start by defining what even is zero-proof living. So, zero-proof in the context of beverages and lifestyle. In that context, zero-proof refers to beverages that contain no alcohol. This term is often used to describe non-alcoholic versions of traditionally alcoholic drinks like cocktails, beers, and wines. Zero-proof beverages are designed to mimic the taste and experience of their alcoholic counterparts, but without the intoxicating effects of alcohol. Now, that is the definition from Google, which I think is hilarious because, not all zero-proof mocktails have the aim to feel and taste like alcohol. The point is to replace it with something better. So, fun little note there, because even on the first, it hasn't even been a full 90 seconds of this episode yet. And yet I already am finding difficulty with the definitions that are, most generically prescribed to us. And it just goes to show how much of a mindset that this cultural shift really is. The concept has grown in popularity as part of a broader movement towards healthier lifestyles and mindful consumption. It caters to individuals who choose not to consume alcohol for various reasons, right? It could be health, it could be religious beliefs, it could be personal preference, or is just part of a sober lifestyle. The zero-proof movement has led to the creation of a wide range of alcohol-free products and innovative mixology techniques offering sophisticated and enjoyable alternatives to alcoholic beverages. Now, the zero-proof drinking trend has been gaining significant momentum, and this has been evidenced by recent statistics and market analyses. So, the market for no and low alcohol beverages reached about $11 billion in 2023 and is projected to grow by at least 7%, which is a 2% increase over the growth seen in the last 4 years. So, point of this story is the growth indicates a very strong interest in the zero-proof options from consumers and investors alike. Just the other day, I saw that White Claw came out with a zero-proof version of their product, which, I've yet to try it, so I'm not going to knock anything I haven't tried, but I am going to be curious how they're different from a LaCroix because, typically companies that first offer alcohol, then just whatever's trendy, they don't care about your health, right? They're just trying to ensure that they don't lose your money. They don't lose your budget for going out. So something to keep in mind as we're kind of going through this episode and really defining what is a zero-proof lifestyle and what are the best ways to support this, lifestyle without kind of tempting you towards a path that you don't want to go. Supporting this trend, data does reveal that Gen Z is particularly inclined towards zero-proof options. A study by Civic Science found that 55% of Gen Z respondents were somewhat likely to participate in Dry January. This inclination towards non-alcoholic beverages is also growing among those over 55-year-old. So 41% expressing interest in, moving towards non-alcoholic beverages. This is a 2% increase from the previous year. Sales of non-alcoholic beers, wines, and spirits have seen a remarkable 31% spike over the past year in a market valued at $510 million. The rising demand for these products is driven by consumer needs for wellness, convenience, and premiumization, indicating a shift towards healthier, quality-focused beverages. Again, let's go back to that White Claw, for example. They literally were advertising that there's electrolytes in it, which I don't, obviously that could have helped for a hangover, but they weren't advertising it as a hangover cure. They were advertising it as a way of replacing the alcohol in the beverage. And again, I'm not going to knock it till I try it. It's a step in the right direction, but I don't even remember seeing the word electrolytes on anything 5-10 years ago. These statistics illustrate a very clear shift in consumer preferences, with an increasing number of people exploring sober or damp lifestyles. The growing zero-proof market reflects this shift, highlighting the demand for healthier, more sustainable beverage choices that align with personal goals and dietary needs. This trend is shaping the beverage industry with innovation in ready-to-drink cocktails, mocktails, and functional ingredients catering to a broad range of preferences. So one thing I want to note here, why did I say cocktails and mocktails? Again, when we're talking about the way that people define zero proof and the way that the internet likes to define zero proof is a little confusing. It's different than sober. It's saying that there is a lack of alcohol, but that it could be a zero proof cocktail because it tastes exactly like, for example, a Manhattan. Whereas a mocktail, it's not trying to be a cocktail. It's doing its own thing. It tastes like its own thing, like nothing you ever tasted before. And it's just, but it is also zero proof. So I know some of these terms can be a little bit like, where does the line start and end? I mean, even the word sober is crazy, to the point where I have to make an entire episode about that one. That'll be coming up shortly, because everybody's definitions of that is also different. But let's stick to zero proof living for a moment to start. So here are some common misconceptions about zero proof living. Number one, zero proof beverages are boring or flavorless. It's just not true. People think that it might lack the complexity and flavor over their alcoholic counterparts because they're not used to putting, like Worcestershire sauce. I can never say that word. But they don't put that in other drinks because they just don't know how. So they think, oh, well, a cocktail is the most refined drink I've ever had. So what else? Am I just going to have a Capri Sun? Luckily, the rise of these artisanal mocktails and non-alcoholic spirits have brought about a range of flavorful and sophisticated options that definitely kill that myth. The next one is that it's only for people with alcohol addiction. This one kind of held me personally up for a while. This misconception that zero proof living is exclusively for individuals recovering from alcohol addiction. In reality, people choose this lifestyle for a variety of reasons, including health, religious beliefs, or personal preference, like I mentioned, right? One thing that I think is really interesting to note here, personal story, I went to a group therapy program to quit smoking cigarettes, but I never did that for alcohol. But I quit alcohol and cigarettes at the same time. I definitely did have an issue with drinking, and in the sense that because I was a performer, it was a big part of my pay, and then I would feel obligated to drink it, or else I felt underpaid, and then I'd get a little too faded to get home, and I'd make some dumb decisions sometimes, and I never ended up like crashing my car or doing anything that really ruined my life externally, but internally, the feeling was there. So I bring this up because, I never went to AA. I never got a chip. I never got, any of those types of things. But, that misconception of drinking mocktails, and it just felt like there was like no cultural other way, and that's a huge misconception. So definitely wanted to highlight that one. Another misconception is that zero proof means no fun. Some believe that social events or celebrations are less enjoyable without alcohol. There are so many ways of having fun. I always like to compare this to kind of like being an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old. The first time you ever walk into like an alcohol bar, you're like, I don't know how this works. Like, I've never been to another place that operates like this. So like, you walk up to the bar and you just like wait for the bartender to talk to you. Like, you're just like not understanding the social cues yet, right? So you're a little awkward, you're a little weird. And then over time, it becomes very simple for you. But let's say that ever since you were 18 or 21, depending on where you're from and where you live and what your laws are, maybe you've been drinking alcohol the entire time. And then maybe you're like 27, 28 or something, and then you're like, I really don't want to drink anymore. But you try to go to a bar with your friend because your friend's there, and you're like, maybe I'll just order like a Dr. Pepper or something. But then you get there and you feel like an awkward 18 or 21-year-old again, because the thing is, you've never experienced it sober. So it might seem like it's stressful, or you might seem like there are some unknowns, but in reality, you had numbed yourself to the experience the whole time. As someone who is very neurodivergent, I like to compare newly sober people to the neurodivergent people who are always looking for social cues to understand what's going on, because it can kind of feel like that, where you have to put this part of your brain into manual overdrive in order to like really understand like what the needs of the social situation are. So I want to challenge anyone out there who is just maybe sober curious and just not sure how to not be awkward or not have fun or all that kind of stuff. Let go of your expectations and just treat yourself like you're a child again in that more exploratory, open to experience kind of way. Obviously, we're not talking the crazy little chaotic version, but the point of this is oftentimes I think we just build this up in our head. It's very mental, but there's a lot of different ways to have fun. And if you just continue to listen to this podcast and continue to follow my Instagram feed especially, you will see how to do so. And one of the things that I'm actually trying to do is start a new series about how to have sober fun in Vegas, or at least zero proof fun, however you want to define it, because, it's Vegas. And if you can have sober fun in Vegas, you can have sober fun anywhere. The next common misconception is that it lacks social acceptance. So people often think that choosing not to drink alcohol in social settings will lead to exclusion or judgment. While this can be true in some environments, there is growing acceptance and respect for personal choices about alcohol consumption. So I quit right before the pandemic, and that was still honestly a different time. And because of that, I actually did lose some friends. I had some people who they were literally so triggered by my sober curiosity content, then they were really attached to their drinking lifestyles, and they literally couldn't even be my friend in any capacity anymore, which that's normal. That is so normal. If you have any sort of addiction or any sort of habit that you're trying to change and you want to move into a different habit, then that means that you have to sometimes change the people, change the environment. And that's the hardest thing that gets a lot of people stuck in feedback loops that are unhealthy for them, because they just don't know anything else and they're scared of the unknown. But let me tell you, there's a lot of better things out there than a hangover. The next common misconception is that zero proof is only a trend. While yes, the popularity of zero proof living has recently increased, it is not just a passing trend. It reflects a broader cultural shift towards health conscious and mindful consumption. Again, so much of our lives have been shaped by 2020 and also, to be honest with you, with the way that things are censored, it becomes really difficult to talk about it. But this was a global trauma that we all experienced together, and that made a huge impact on a lot of people. A lot of people either went down a really, really dark path during that time. Other people went in more productive paths, and other people were maybe a little bit less affected than others. But point of this story is there are so many of us that just went through something extraordinarily large together, and we're still trying to make sense of it. So we don't even know how to talk about it yet. We don't know the words, so it's all confusing. And so it can be very easy to lean into a vice, but also maybe that time taught you that you need to take care of yourself and actually care about your health, or else it could literally be debilitating. So don't worry about that social acceptance part. We're in 2024 now. We got to take care of ourselves. It's not just for health reasons, though. That's another common misconception. While health is a significant factor for many, zero-proof living is also chosen for other reasons, such as better control over one's behavior, avoiding hangovers, and financial savings. Reminder that financial savings aren't just a short-term thing, though. Over time, the less health issues you have associated to drinking alcohol, the less you'll spend on going to the doctor and healing from the damage. Because again, let's say that you are replacing your cocktail habit with a mocktail habit. The prices may be a little bit similar depending on, what city you're in, what kind of ingredients you're going for, but the long-term effects, how many less times you have to call out of work, how many less times you're unable to show up for the things that matter, it's not just about health. There's so much here financially that you can save. There are so many memories you can save. And to be quite frank, the younger generations get this, where it's like, so I was born in 94, which means I had the early part of my childhood, very latchkey kid running around, no cell phone. When I was in middle school, I shared a flip phone with my brother, but I didn't get my first smartphone until college. So why do I bring this up? I bring it up because when I was in middle school, that was 2005 to 2008. That was like, the rise of YouTube, right? So there's us dumb little kids not knowing the impact of the internet yet because it's brand new and we're the guinea pigs of it. So we put a dumb video on YouTube, and guess what's going to follow us into the world forever? We were the generation, us millennials especially, were the ones that really learned how permanent things can be on the internet and how it really changes the way that you live your life, because you have to make sure that everything you're doing, like, live your life like you're being recorded, because you are. And luckily the generation right younger than me, the Gen Z, they get it in terms of don't do embarrassing things on social media a little bit better. And so this tends to be a driving force, for some motivation here, because we've all seen it. We've all woken up after a terrible night and seen it and been like, oh my God, I need to delete some of my stories, or I sent a weird text or something like that. So again, when we talk about the fact that, going back to the fact that the misconception about this being a trend, and it's not, because as we learn more, as we come into the age of Aquarius, right? Like this age of knowledge, and all of this data is more accessible to everybody in the world now more than ever in human history. So because of this, we're becoming more aware of our choices and aware of the way we present ourselves. So this is a huge thing that's really a key factor here. And again, when we talk about, it's not only for health reasons, of course, everything always stems back to health, right? Like your mental health will determine how good your body feels. But the amount of mental health reasons here are incredibly large. Another misconception here is that non-alcoholic options don't offer variety. That was very true at first. I'll be honest with you. Before I started working at a Kava bar, I had a few options. I also liked having just like ridiculous cans, even if they were of, just like tea or soda or something. So I'd always have something in my hand just so no one asked, like, why don't you have a drink? Let me buy you a drink. Like, no, I don't want one. So at first it was hard, but nowadays there are so many zero proof options out there. I keep following my Instagram and following this podcast to learn more about products, because we are going to dive deeply into those. But at this point, there is no reason that every single restaurant and bar doesn't have at least a few options, because this is where we're heading. And this is like the reason that I wanted to leave the Kava bar I was at and go into consulting and help as many businesses as possible. Of course, I love helping Kava bars, but I also want to help bars and restaurants and zoos and other family places, because it sucks when there's only like margaritas and ices available. So the point of that story is my goal is to literally make this so accessible that no one has that as a reason to not be supporting a better habit. So what are the benefits of zero proof lifestyle? I want to talk about this from the perspective of both the business and personal. We've already talked a lot of personal things here, so really emphasizing business. Let's look at physical benefits, like the physical framework of your business. There's going to be less damage done by those who don't consume alcohol, just point blank. And we all know what a bar smells like. It's just, there's no getting around that. So it's very easy to instantly up-level the atmosphere of your business by not having any well, I shouldn't say not having any alcohol, because you do you. I get it. Alcohol sales are important. But to also provide another option there and to see, just, you can keep your similar menu to what you already have, but then just add a little tiny side menu that's, hey, here's our zero proof. Tell us how you feel about it. Get that information and see if that not only increases your sales there, but see if that happens to affect any of your alcohol sales. Just curious. It's a long-term kind of process to look at, because step one is educating. If you don't educate your customers, of course, they may not even want to buy anything off that menu. So if you just threw it in front of them and walked away and never said a word, well, no wonder it may not work. But, if you train your staff to be able to tell people about the value of it, you'll be able to see those differences. So that being said, moving into like the mental benefits of this, like your staff will be selling more thoughtful products, which means you're going to have a more thoughtful sales force, which means not only are they going to make more money, they're going to get all the tips, but you're going to as well, because it's going to be really easy for them to upsell. For example, if someone's already drinking, they have a big tab drinking alcohol, legally and morally, you can't serve them after a certain point. It's irresponsible. It doesn't make them feel good. But if you have a zero proof menu, there's no bottom of that well. You can continue to serve drinks and just keep changing up what's in each drink in terms of, sugar content, other, active botanicals that are in there to ensure that they're having a great time. So yes, there's a little bit of training that has to go into that, but the other side of that is that the upsell is huge here. So you can definitely increase your profits. I know when I was working at a Kava bar in Phoenix, we were able to increase sales by 26% simply by adding more upsell options rather than just the basics of just like Kava and kratom. Like in this case, there were all these extra tinctures and all these other extra things to add to it, and it allowed the servers to be able to tailor make every suggestion, so every single person who walks in the door, they feel incredibly taken care of. So that leads me into the emotional benefits of running a zero proof business, or at least having a little portion of your business being zero proof. You just don't deal with the same emotionally taxing regulars when they're not consumed by intoxicants. Point blank. When you have people who are aware, they have, first off, just much more delightful, meaningful conversations. But on top of that, they actually enjoy helping others too, because they're not intoxicated. They're aware. They see, health is something that's in the forefront of their mind because of this decision that they've made. So therefore, it's contagious. It's one small choice, literally domino effects so hard, and you can only see it if you do it. Like, wait until you see what this can do for your regulars in your community. Another great example of this too goes into the social benefits of this zero proof business, right? So you'll find that you have more customers who are willing to help each other. Like I mentioned, that being a contagious and abundant energy means that, let's say someone who maybe you love having someone hang out at your business, but now they're pregnant. Obviously they can't have any alcohol. What can they have? Now they don't feel isolated for the next 9 months. They can still hang out and, do so in a responsible way. Same thing with people who, suffer from other addictions or, have other type of health problems where they have to avoid things, but it makes them feel isolated. Now you have become the social hub because you're saying, hey, whether you drink or not, like whatever moment in life you're in, doesn't matter. I got you. We'll take care of you and you can all just come hang out. So it's not just like us versus them kind of a vibe. This creates a safe haven and a beacon of hope for community you serve. I can't stress enough how many lives in a positive way you end up impacting. Sometimes as servers, we get to know our community, so we know if good things or bad things happen to people, but we don't always know that all the time. But we do know that alcohol has a 40% chance of absolutely just destroying some organ in your body. There's so many studies done. There's so many statistics out there. So basically so many different ways you can measure it. But what you can measure is anybody that left your building not having alcohol in their body, they're not driving drunk and killing someone or themselves or causing such a burden or a traumatic experience on someone else's lives that you literally made their lives better. That should be enough right there. So now that we've talked about what zero proof lifestyle is, both personally and from a business perspective, I want to talk about overcoming challenges. We talked about misconceptions, but that doesn't mean that, oh, well, now that I know it's a misconception, everything's all right. There's still that little transformational bridge moment that your mind needs to make. Like if you are someone who has only known the alcohol drinking life and you're transitioning into a new one, there's going to be a lot of little things to learn, and that's okay. So I made a little list here of things to consider, and, know that if you're dealing with any of these kind of pain points, know that you're just not alone. So let's talk again about adjusting social situations. Social gatherings, parties, and networking events often revolve around alcohol, and adjusting to these situations without drinking can feel awkward or out of place. So there are many things you can do. There are tiny little tonics that are like 2 ounces. Technically, they're TSA friendly. They can fit in your bag. If you're traveling, they can go where you go. And there's so many different products out there, whether it's Kava, kratom, so many other different botanicals as well, where these little 2-ounce shots, they are thick, right? It's like 2 servings in these 2 ounces, and you just take a little bit of it, just kind of like a shot, like you would with tequila, right? Like you just put a little of it in whatever you're drinking, and then you feel the effects of it. So this is a great example of how you can adjust to a social situation. You can bring little things like that if you're allowed to bring outside things in, of course. I also find that if you have just any drink in your hand, like just a cup, doesn't matter what's in the cup, you'll probably be fine. Like people won't even notice. That part of like the external part will be simple for you. Internally, if you're starting to feel a little bit of anxiety, there are other tools you can use, because maybe your drinking was actually something that was helping you numb an anxiety, right? So for example, a lot of neurodivergent people tend to drink a little bit more sometimes when they have to deal with social things, if they have social anxiety. So there's a lot of inventions that have come out. One of my favorites is called loop earplugs. And they're these little earplugs that, yes, they dampen sound around you, but you can still hear, if someone's having a conversation with you, they're sharp. They're super sharp. You can hear them. It's awesome. But it muffles the background noise, so you're not like, ugh, squirrel, what's happening over there? I hear some other things. Bananas and birthdays. Like, it's a little bit something that, honestly, like I even remember taking shots because I had a hard time focusing on a conversation with the person in front of me because there were so many things going on. So that's another great example of a tool. There are also these awesome little breathwork tools. They sit in necklaces. I can put a link to these things in a blog post for y'all as well. I'm trying to remember the name of the brand. I feel like it's called Komoso. I'll double check. But basically, especially people who like to vape and like to have an oral fixation, or if you're the type of person who always liked to get like a maraschino cherry in your cocktail and then you would chew on the little stick that it came on or something like that, you can use this little breathwork tool to take care of that oral fixation, but it also helps you breathe, so it helps slow and calm your anxiety down. So there's these awesome and nifty little gadgets that you can use. Another fun example, I recently found out about these toothpicks that they're actually made and designed to help people quit smoking because they have nicotine in them. So you chew on them and it helps you kind of wean down. But there was that same brand made some sticks that had caffeine in them. So they give you that sort of caffeinated buzz. And again, if it's an oral fixation thing, if it's something that you just want to feel something, you want to feel some sort of change in your body feeling, there's other compounds out there that can help you that won't be as bad to your health as alcohol. So that all being said, there's so many more tools, and I'm going so basic on this episode because I'm trying to fit a huge topic into one and let you know that all of these things we are going to go dive deeper into. So if you have any questions or anything about anything I'm saying, please take notes. Please send me a DM on Instagram, Mocktails with Marina, or send me an email, hello@marinamars.com, and I will go much more in depth on anything that really stands out to you guys. So the next challenge I want to talk about is dealing with questions and curiosity. So yeah, people are going to ask. And, it gets weirder and weirder as time goes on because you're like, why do people question me about not drinking alcohol? It's kind of weird. But at first it doesn't feel weird because all the people that you're around might normally do it. So again, I like to just make sure that I have a really cool can of something. And there are so many cool botanical cans out there nowadays. If you're into cannabis at all, obviously THC, CBD, and there's so many different variations of cannabis. CBN I know is also very helpful. And CBG as well, all different effects, different things that can help. But when they're put into drinks, they're delicious. And there's outside of cannabis as well, there's literally hundreds of thousands of plants out there. And so there's so many different things that we can do here. But point of that is getting yourself equipped with a really fun looking can makes people ask different questions. Not why not alcohol? They want to say, can I try some? Because you're telling them now about this super fun experience that's like, hey, actually this one's way more fun and it tastes more delicious. And if you happen to be drinking like a Leilo, like you're drinking a Kava seltzer, it's like, sorry buddy, you're drinking alcohol. I can't share this one with you right now. So maybe next time, let's hang out without a drink and then you can see how it feels. And that way, there's nothing wrong with curiosity, and you never know if someone comes at you in any type of way, that's them getting defensive about their own habits and wondering if you're judging them. So as long as you come with a full open heart and you just say, hey, look, this is a weird process that I'm learning a lot about too. Here's all the info I know. The conversation's going to go well. And if it doesn't go well, go ahead and spill your non-alcoholic drink all over them and walk away. The next challenge I want to talk about is changing habits and routines. So if drinking was a significant part of someone's routine, they might struggle to find new ways to relax, socialize, and celebrate without alcohol. This requires developing new habits and finding alternative forms of enjoyment. So something that's super important, we mentioned the word habit. Habits take 30 to 90 days to form. Like that is how long it takes for your brain to create new neural pathways. And then by day 90, you're in your new. It's comfortable up there. Like you put the hard work in for up to 3 months of saying, hey, I'm making this intentional choice today. And then it will be easy from here on out. If you're having a hard time changing habits because you're just too focused on alcohol and you need a distraction and you want to find flow in some other area of life, I do have a really awesome tool for you I made. It's called Functional Flow. It's an app. You can literally just go to Functional Flow app on Instagram, or you can go to my website, marinamars.com, and you'll find it there too. It's a free app with some free classes on there. And one of them is my Flow State flagship course. I made that one back in 2020 when I saw people were kind of going off the deep end and they needed help focusing on something other than the fact that we were all quarantined for reasons that we didn't understand at that time. So because of that, I made this course, and it was originally 30 days long, but now it's a full 90 days, and it gives you movement and mindfulness prompts that you can do no matter what, whether you're a dancer or an artist or, you're an engineer, you like to craft things in your workshop, no matter what, as long as you're a human with a pulse, this can help you. And that will help support that changing habit and routine in order to, just cross that challenge off your zero proof list. The next challenge I want to talk about is the emotional and psychological adjustment, because for some, alcohol is a way to manage stress, like I mentioned. Social anxiety comes up. A lot of other emotional states can come up too. Transitioning to a zero-proof lifestyle might mean finding new, healthier ways to cope with these emotions. So not only finding, definitely physical activity is incredible. You need physical activity for sure. Definitely get off the couch and move a little bit. But also, maybe you need to find a coach in this time. Now, I use the word coach specifically because each person's different. Everybody has a different level of what they're going through, what they have to overcome. Some people, they need to go to rehab. Some people, they're like, you know what? I want to go to rehab because I want to be fully taken out of my life and just fully focus on this one thing and then move forward because my body literally has these is literally addicted. It's having a hard time. You want to make sure you're doing it safe and you don't kill yourself, because some things when you're coming off of them, and I know if you come off alcohol too fast, you can die. So it's important to, talk to your trusted healthcare provider and figure out what your options are that are best for you. Now, when I mentioned that extreme case there, like that is, that's alcohol. Like that's an alcoholic right there, right? Not everybody is on that level of a path. So maybe you just want to have a talk therapist. Maybe you just want to open up an app on your phone, talk to someone, check in with them. Maybe you need to sponsor someone to, like, maybe you want to be in an AA type program where it's not a rehab, but you have someone to help you hold accountable. Maybe you're just like not in all those things and you want to really do it for yourself. You're a DIY kind of person. That's definitely me. I put myself deeply into 2 different type of coaching programs. I did movement coaching, so I focused really hard on, just finding as many dance teachers as possible and learning as many things to move my body and express my emotions in a positive and healthy way. And then I also had a business coach, still have her, she's amazing. And that helped me focus on, okay, when my body's tired, what do I do with my mind? And being an entrepreneur is cool because it forces you to overcome your shit. Because if you don't, you're not going to make sales. No one's going to like you. No one wants to deal with you. When people say business isn't personal, it absolutely is. So for me, diving deeply into finding new ways to make my dopamine release be attached to positive things that made my life better. That was it for me. But everybody's different. So just know it's totally okay to have and need and want to have a support person or anything like that. So reach out. And if you need help finding one, please let me know. I have some amazing therapist friends that I'm very happy to help. Even if they aren't the ones for you, they know who can be the ones for you. And I have one friend in particular who is just a magical woman who really understands a lot about the insurance side of it as well. So don't let anything like that hold you back. Reach out if you need help. Like literally any barrier you think you might have for these things, like you don't. You just need to phone a friend. Like you just need to hit me up. I got you. Another challenge that comes up, we kind of have been mentioning this, that navigating dining and entertainment venues. And this is my plug again for all business owners out there to just do this for the people, do this for your community. If you find yourself being resistant to it, you're probably not even listening to this podcast, like you wouldn't even care. So if you're listening to this means that you have identified a need in your industry, maybe a potential business opportunity, and you're kind of on the edge about it. This is your sign to do it. Reach out to me if you don't know how. I am an expert at making these menus. I've been crafting these recipes for a while, over a decade at this point, and I have completed programs in clinical herbalism as well, so I can help you understand that like holistic perspective. And again, more topics we're going to go into as this podcast goes on. We're only in episode 2, y'all. Can't go too deep yet. The next challenge is identity and self-perception. Now, this one is huge. This was my biggest problem, honestly, and I don't know what that says about my ego, but it's all good. At the time of quitting cigarettes and alcohol, because again, that happened for me at the same time. It was like October 2019. That was really hard for me because like I had this identity where I was smoking these cigarettes in a smoky cabaret, being a burlesque dancer. And, I had these fancy little mocktails. I always had my Manhattans with my little maraschino cherry because that was my snack before I'd go on stage. Like, to the point where even earlier in my career, before I got to Vegas, I loved having green hair. And I would sometimes wear green lipstick, like an emerald green. And I matched Jaeger, so I would just drink Jaeger all the time. And I even had one act where I had a bottle of Jaeger on the stage and it matched everything. And it literally became, like, I wasn't even paid by them, y'all. And we all know, like, that's gross. So, point of this story is my identity accidentally got wrapped up in it a little bit. And it became a little bit difficult I would say that was the last tether to make it easy to quit. When it comes to identity and self-perception, again, if if you think that when you're drunk, you're somehow a cooler, confident, like more confident version of yourself, like you may think that. It's not actually true, because if you were more confident, you wouldn't drink at all. So at first, there is that a little adjustment there to say, who am I and what am I trying to hide? What was I drinking? Was there a nervous tic that I had an issue with? I'm a very fidgety person. I just have like an abundance of energy in me, and it causes me to be anxious if I don't have an outlet for it. I didn't know that when I was younger. But now that I know it, it makes it a little bit easier to say, okay, so now that I can identify it and I'm sober, maybe I just need to dance a little. And I love dancing, obviously, so I would just pop into a little shuffle, and then that would increase my confidence so much that it wouldn't do any, like, alcohol isn't going to add to my vibe. In fact, if anything, it's going to make me shuffle slower, which is nowhere near as cool. So really, just someone hand me a bottle of water. So I picked up shuffling after I quit drinking. It's a very important, like, distinction there. And something to consider, you know, maybe picking up a new hobby is something that can help you with that identity and self-perception gap, so to speak. The very last thing, kind of touched on it, physiological changes. Like we mentioned, depending on the level of previous alcohol consumption, some people might experience physical changes or withdrawal symptoms as they adjust to a zero-proof lifestyle. So, you know, talking to medical professionals definitely is helpful, but also being in your body and understand that, yeah, it might be a little shitty at first. Like, I mean, it hurts. It's difficult to get sober at first. Your body is going through a withdrawal, and then it's doing a detox. It's pushing everything out. You know, the first 30 days, especially without alcohol specifically, is hard. And then on day 30, you really start to feel good. Like on day 30 is when you actually start to sleep better. You know, your liver is improving. Your skin starts to look lighter. You don't have those like caves under your eyes. So when people only participate with dry January, for example, I always highly recommend to do 90 days, not 30 days, so that you can really see the difference, and it gives you a lot more motivation to stay dry. Despite these challenges, many find the transition to a zero-proof lifestyle incredibly rewarding, leading to improved health, clearer thinking, and a more intentional approach to socializing and celebrating. The key is often in finding a supportive community, exploring new interests, and embracing the positive aspects of the change. So hang tight for future episodes. I'm going to go hard on giving you some alternatives and recipes, like I mentioned, different to-go can products as well as recipes. But for the moment, I'm going to tell you what one of my favorite things to drink at home is. So you're going to learn a lot more about kratom with me. I know it's a very controversial thing, and the media does a lot of garbage reporting. There's a lot of like propaganda out there that is not accurate, but also there's some very irresponsible business owners that don't make the industry look good either. So, you know, that being said, I really enjoy red kratom. It helps me focus, and also it helps me alleviate any sort of tension or stress that I'm feeling without feeling intoxicated. My favorite way to drink it, since it's like a leafy tea, it's like a very earthy flavor, I like to mix it with ginger beer, mango juice, and a berry electrolyte powder, along with some of my favorite tinctures, including a Kava turmeric blend, a blue lotus jasmine blend, and sometimes I'll throw some shilajit in there as well, which has lots of other fulvic acid and other essentials. If you'd like to see a video of this being done, or would like me to send you the exact recipe, again, please leave me a comment on my Instagram, Mocktails with Marina, send me a DM, or send me an email, hello@marinamars.com, and I'd be so happy to give you that recipe. But I just wanted to throw that example out there to show you, like, these are really random things that you may not think of throwing together. But if you just think about it from the perspective of, you know, all these things are either delicious or helpful, and I throw them all together and see how it tastes. Look, sometimes I'll make some nasty garbage drinks, and I'm going to share those with you too. I'm going to be like, hey, let me show you what drink not to make. But also, you have to keep in mind that sometimes this is for your health, right? So when it comes to taste, it's not always going to be the highest priority. Don't lie to me and pretend like every fucking cocktail you've drank tasted delicious. To learn more about how to create balanced and enjoyable mocktails, stay tuned for the next episode, episode 3. I'm going to talk to you all about the theoretical perspective of herbalism and the energetics behind it, because it's going to help you intuitively become a mixologist within literally the length of the episode. You'll also learn more about sourcing ingredients and tools for mixology, home or business. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. I know this is a little bit longer of an episode, but I do want you to share your zero proof lifestyle stories, comments, and questions on Instagram. Head over to Mocktails with Marina, find the post for episode 2, and leave me a comment. Want to keep it between us? No problem. Send me an email at hello@marinamars.com. If your business needs my help adjusting to the zero proof market, please feel encouraged to send me an email as well. I can't wait to chat with you about the possibilities for your community. Now, in our next episode, like I mentioned, we're going to talk mixology and the foundations of a balanced mocktail. So please subscribe, leave a review, and follow on social media to make sure you don't miss any of the content you need. To learn more, you can go to marinamars.com/themodernmocktail and download our free guide. This enlightening 36-page guide offers a deep dive into the world of zero-proof mixology, providing insights on everything from functional bar design to optimizing workflow and mastering the art of creating bespoke beverage stations. Crafted with expertise and care, this ebook is your go-to resource for elevating your drink-making skills, understanding the nuance of a well-designed bar space, and learning how to foster community through thoughtful beverage service. Whether you're a professional looking to refine your craft or an enthusiast eager to explore the world of non-alcoholic beverages, this guide is a valuable addition to your collection. Download it for free and embark on a journey of flavor, innovation, and sustainable business practices with the Modern Mocktail. Let's say you're a savvy business owner and you already know these things, but you want to either dive deeper or create a more corporate structure, basically create an actual operation structure that provides every SOP and every bit of your business's data within it. I'm also really great at that too. So if you're looking to franchise or just clean up your business and make it a little bit more self-sustaining so that you can do more of what you want to do, go ahead and hit me up because I'd absolutely love to help you there too. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, let me know if you need anything.